This is another infographic instant with Brian Michael. In this paper we're going to be looking at the question, how do we know Hong Kong businesses export bribery to the mainland? This is a topic that has evoked a fair amount of emotional interest both within Hong Kong and outside, given China's importance in the international economy. And so in this infographic presentation, we're going to be looking a little bit at the paper. We're going to be looking at some of the logic behind our estimate of bribery in Hong Kong and talk about next steps. So what is the paper that this infographic comes from? The paper looks at what the ICAC, or Independent Commission Against Corruption, can do to reduce corruption on the mainland. Now, the main focus of the paper is activities that ICAC can undertake in order to help Chinese authorities reduce corruption. So this paper is not an explicit analysis of bribe taking, bribe seeking, and it's also not an analysis of Hong Kong's the exact amount of money Hong Kong businesses pay to Chinese foreign officials and other businessmen acting under the cloak of official government activity. Instead, we just want to establish that there is a need for the rest of the paper. Now, let's walk through some of the analysis that Infographic 1 that you see in front of you tries to present the scene for. Now keep in mind that an estimated or likely amount of bribery is very different than bribes actually paid. An estimated value of anything is simply the size of financial activities taking place multiplied by the probability of some event or occurrence. So if we wanted to estimate bribe taking using a very simple example, we might assume that out of $100 of business transactions, for example, 20% of those transactions are likely to be involved in some form of corruption or bribery. Okay? If that's true, then the estimated amount of bribery given that example is 100, the value of the transactions, multiplied by the probability of bribery taking place, which we said was 20%. So it's that expectation, it's that formula that we have to keep in mind when we're looking at the infographic and when we're thinking about the subsequent analysis. So turning our attention now to the figure, we see Hong Kong's major trading partners, China, US, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea. We see the value of trade, and we also see control of corruption indicators. That's basically a survey of surveys that compiles data from other sources in order to provide a quantitative scaling, if you will, of corruption in different jurisdictions. So, for example, China has 31% the level of control of corruption as Hong Kong has. South Korea has roughly 59. So in that way we can see that control of corruption in some of Hong Kong's major trading partners is less than in Hong Kong itself. Now, does that mean that we have proof that bribes are being paid in these jurisdictions? No, of course we don't have that kind of proof from this infographic. But we do want to use this infographic along with other data that are cited in the paper in order to establish A, that bribery occurs, B, that Hong Kong business is involved in areas which are very likely to have bribery and other forms of corruption, and therefore C, Hong Kong businessmen likely participate in this corrupt and bribe-related activities. So that's the main focus of this figure and the background to figuring out how the ICAC can work with the mainland in order to reduce corruption in Hong Kong's neighbor to the north. With that, that's another infographic instant with your host, Brian Michael.